Welcome to another fishing reel service video. In this episode we're going to be working on another mostly 80s Zebco 33. Now I know I've already done a 33 of similar vintage. It was I think an mid-80s Zebco 33. But I got this one today for $5 and I'm not going to pass up a USA made Zebco 33 for $5. I don't care how many of them I have. I don't think I have a complete one of this particular 33 yet, though, so that's why I'm particularly glad I got it. But if you look on the cap, right there it says 1989 Brunswick. So this version of the 33 first came out in 1989, and I believe there were some other anniversary versions that came out too between these dates, but this version was available I think between 1989 and 1994, but there were some other anniversary and commemorative ones in that time frame as well. But like I said, I'm not passing up USA made 33 for $5, even though if I had my choice I would, I typically use the ones that are all metal foot and so on. I think this is like what they call Lexan or something, like some various kind of resin, plastic, whatever. And it's a hard time. I have a hard time remembering which handles are correct for which versions. I assume this is the correct handle, but I don't know. So if you look at the, you maybe get a revolution and a half out of that. Maybe 2. Hopefully that'll be a lot better when we're done. So this one is a twist off cap. You twist about 1/2 inch or so and pull it off. And a little bit of lake scum in there. The drag stop, I think these are nylon. It looks like nylon. That seems to be intact, so that's always good. And of course with these, to get the spinner head off, you hold the handle, make a counterclockwise turn, off it comes. Looks like there had been a spider making a nest in there. And then in terms of getting your spool off, you just have an E-clip to remove. And there's a plastic guard over the spool. And then of course, before you try to winkle this spool off there, you want to make sure the drag is set at 0. So there's no tension on the inside of the spool. Doesn't mean it's going to come off easily, because there may be dried up grease and so in there. But at least you don't have drag fighting you as well. Boy, a lot of people didn't cut all their line off before they tied new on. There must be 3 or 4 different line ties in there. That's annoying. Somebody was using way too big of a test line. Looks like piano wire on there in one of them. This one here, that's practically piano wire. I would never put that high, strong test line in a 33. What's it rated for? I think 12 or 10 maximum 10 pound line. That was way more than 10 pound line. But at any rate, so there's your spool, plastic ring, and a lot of grit in here. Oh, I gotta check. Sometimes when you pull off that spool, your Teflon drag ring will be, or washer will be stuck to it, but in this case it's not. I guess I'm going to pull these off together. Might be missing a Teflon drag washer. I was thinking there were 2. I thought there was one here and then another one on the other side of that. Huh. I'll have to do some checking. I just wonder if any... And that one's got a chip out of it. Did that just happen? I don't see any chips. Was that? I'll have to look at the video, but that... Oh, there it is. I don't know if I did that or if it was that way when and it just fell off, but that one's got a chip out of the Teflon drag washer. This thing's, is it just dirt or corrosion? Looks like mostly just dirt. So, all right. So now we can take off the crank handle. That nut needs some cleaning. And what do we have here? Huh. A washer there. I'm going to set those there for now. Especially because I'm worried I'll forget that washer. And put that in the parts tray. I'm going to bend this little bait clicker up just a little bit. Sometimes those get sprung. And take off the back cover. Hopefully this isn't stuck on with sand. Sometimes I use the thumb button as leverage. I don't know if that's smart or not, but whew, that's dirty. And pull out the axle shaft, put that in the parts tray. Oh, this thing isn't installed entirely. That's half out. This little clip. And get our bait clicker sort of out of the way the best you can. I just did one of these the other day, and right now I'm having a hard time remembering. There it comes. Thought that there was a bushing, and you have to take that out in order to get the rest of it out, and that is just caked with dirt and grease. And that goes in so that the groove is towards the inside. Now that should allow us to winkle this out. And this little clip on here with that tab, this tab, when you put it back together, goes in this little notch in the anti-reverse dog or paw or whatever you call it. So, and you don't want to lose that either. I think if you start monkeying around with that, it could come out. So you don't want to lose that in the sink or whatever. I think if you turn it off, it'd be less likely to come out if it does come out. So that's a nasty, dirty. I can feel grit. It's like sandy. Gotta get that clean. And then, given the fact that it's so dirty, I'm going to remove the drag adjustment. If I can. And that's a kind of bass-ackwards, because it's a clockwise turn to get that to come out of there. Okay. And I'm going to leave that face up so when I put it back on, it goes like that, just in case. And you want to be careful not to lose this little spring here when you're cleaning. I think that's just a clicker spring for when you're adjusting the drag, but you don't want to lose that. And I might try to gouge some of this out before I even go to the sink. Okay, so there's most of the parts. So I'm off to the sink for some scrubbing with Dawn dish soap and in some cases WD-40, cotton swabs down through all the journals where the shafts go. Doesn't do much good to clean off the shafts if you don't clean out the journals that they go into, or the holes, or whatever you want to call that. And so take those to the sink, get those cleaned up, and be back just like. Okay, let's lay out all these parts so that you can see what all's here. I've got these parts that didn't go to the sink laying up here. And I checked. I have a parts reel that's the exact same reel as this. And I checked that one. And it also only had one of the Teflon drag washers. So either it's a real coincidence and somebody took one out of that one, or it just has one. But looking at this one, it's getting so brittle, and I just touched it and there's another crack. I think I'm going to pull that reel back out and steal the Teflon washer out of it. Okay, here's the new washer, or out of the parts reel. This one seems to be less brittle than this one, and it's not broken, so I'm going to toss that one and use this one. Okay, so I guess the first item up for bids is to put this bushing and main gear back in. So put some oil on that, and put that back in there like that, and then slide the bushing in with that groove going towards the inside of the reel. Oops. I'm gonna have to take that back out, because guess what I forgot to do? I may not have to take it. I probably will. I got to make sure that that little tab, this little tab here, goes into that notch on the anti-reverse. Whoop. So now that see that little, I don't know if you can see it, but that little tab fits into the notch on that anti-reverse. All right. And probably should be able to go ahead and put the clip back in. And now we can oil the axle shaft and stick that in, and grease those gears. And we can go ahead and put our drag back in. And again, this is reverse threaded, so to tighten you go counterclockwise. I'm going to tighten that all the way down. And that spring ain't making the right kind of sound. So let's just see where that spring has to be. So I had it like that, But I wonder if this spring is supposed to be on the other side like that. Oh, I think it doesn't engage the outside of the drag wheel, but those little cogs on the inside. Looks like those are on both sides. So I don't know if it really matters which face of that drag wheel goes where. So let's try now. What happened to it? There it is. Let's try putting that in now. Okay, now it's making the sound it's supposed to. So that little spring, the end of that spring engages with the little cogs on the inside of the drag wheel. All right. So now we can start, I think, working on this side. So we've got our pressure plate here. We have our drag. We want to kind of stick your screwdriver in there in order to get it to move, but we want to make sure our drag is all the way off, which it appears to be. So one of those tabs goes in this slot here. The other one goes in the screw head for your drag, so make sure that's lined up. And then as I turn it, increase the drag, it pushes that screw up and pushes the pressure plate up, which pushes up the drag washers against the spool, and that's what resists the line coming out when a fish is pulling on it. So I'm going to put a little grease on the inside of the spool and put down the way this was put together is that of course this washer is keyed, and so it slides into some of those notches there. And then our Teflon washer, drag washer, and then we can put on our spool. Well, that's going on awful hard. Seems like that should slip over a little easier than that. Okay. Oh, let me double check. No, that's the right way. Seems like that should turn a lot easier than it does with the drag at its lowest setting. And this thing's keyed too, so make sure that those little ears fit down into the slots there. And then we can put on our E-clip. This keeps falling out. I should have just waited on that. And now we'll prevent that from happening by, might want to put a little bit of lubricant on the pickup pin. Work that in. We'll tighten that down. Well, we can grab the, so we can hold that reel handle and tighten that on a little bit. All right, double check our bait clicker. That's working. And I reverse. Wait a minute, what's going on with that? And my reverse is working. Turn it off. Okay. Guess we're ready for our, put our plate back on, rear plate. A little grease on the button. Find the little punch out and put it in the slot and turn. Get our little washer on that one. I don't know if that's standard or not. I don't remember seeing those. I think there might be a, I know there's a damaged thread, so somebody might have thrown that on there because there was some damaged threads so that this would tighten down all the way. I'm not sure. I just don't remember seeing a washer like that. And question is which side. Looks like it, based on the wear, they had it on the back side. It's just not stripped out. Okay, now we're ready for our, of course the 33 should be up, but if the decal's gone, look for the drain hole, and you know that that goes on the bottom. And if you remember that before we serviced this, that handle wasn't turning that nearly that many revolutions. So that's really improved the functioning of the thing. And a little bit of oil in each of the handle knobs, and then lap up the dirty oil that comes out the other end, and then put in a little bit more, kind of work some of that dirt out of there. Is that you know, these being somewhat sticky or not moving as freely as they originally did, that over time you cast and winding, that creates some subconscious fatigue that you don't really need to deal with. The smoother the reel operates, the less user fatigue there is. But look at all the gunk that's washed out of there by running that oil through a couple times. So now they're really nice and smooth. So there you have it, somewhere, you know, between 1989 and 1994 was the manufacture of this. Zebco 33, the Rhino Tough, Lexan or plastic foot, but made in the by God USA. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.